It's an element. It's a purple element. It's a dark purple element. And when you heat it, it actually, what they call it, it's called subliming, when it comes from solid to gas. So you heat iodine crystals, you'll see gas. I mean, I've seen it myself. You you heat it up, you put a match under it, you'll see the purple smoke, which is really the iodine gas. So you heat iodine, and you blow, sort of like blow that gas or onto the surface that might have a fingerprint, and this it'll show up. The fingerprint will show up. The residue, the finger residue, will sort of like stick to this purple iodine, and it'll be purple. It'll show up. Or you can just put it into a water solution and spray it on the surface. Thing is, iodine, it does fade. It fades after a while, but you can use a little bit of a starch solution that'll make it permanent, and that turns it really, really dark. This is cheap, easy. Iodine is not that expensive, and it'll work even for paper. You can find fingerprints on paper. Now, your mother can't find them, but the iodine method will. Ninhydrin is another method that they use. They dissolve it in alcohol and they spray that, and it will show up. It takes time, though. It'll take time. But this is more sensitive, a little bit more sensitive than the iodine method. This also works on paper. Then there's something more complicated chemical mixture. This is what they call physical developer. It contains what they call silver nitrate. This requires, not exactly flooding the surface, but washing the surface with a lot of this whole solution. Like you dump a lot of the solution on it. And however, this is likely to obliterate the fingerprint for further methods. So the fingerprint will show up. It's more sensitive than all the other methods. But once you use this method, you can't use any of the others. So the typical scheme that they use is that first try the iodine. If that doesn't work, try the ninhydrin. If that doesn't work, try the physical developer. And if it's not there, if you still can't find it, it's probably not there. Finally, we have a method that is getting to be more common. It's common, but it's getting to be more so. It's the superglue fuming. You take the ordinary superglue, the one you buy in your hardware store or in the supermarket, wherever they sell it. It's cyanoacrylate. If you heat it, the fumes will get to the oil on the oil residue of a fingerprint, and it will actually kind of like solidify. The glue will actually harden on this, so you can reveal prints, even though the other methods might not have revealed them or not as well as the superglue method. What usually happens is you take, let's say, a soda can that you think that the criminal used. You take the soda can, put it in a closed box, put your superglue there, heat it. Fumes will get all over the box, the inside of the box, and it'll land on whatever fingerprints are there. So you can actually find fingerprints in places that you thought weren't there. This is, however, only works for non-porous materials. It does not work on cloth. It does not work on paper. There is another thing they try to look at fingerprints and try to find latent fingerprints that are hidden, and that's in some fingerprints they have a certain light that can actually make the fingerprint glow. So this is called alternate light source. So you put that fingerprint on it, if I put that light on it, it will make the fingerprint glow, and you can actually find the fingerprint. You'd probably have to take a picture of that light glowing in order to get the actual fingerprint, but it does reveal fingerprints. So the idea is that, as mentioned before, it's not just the fingerprint. Sometimes what you often have to add is fluorescent agents. You put fluorescent agent, whatever. What it is, again, they're common enough. Some things that they just, when you apply a different light source, it'll make them glow. We also have this idea called the secondary light source. That is, if you shine a certain light on a fingerprint or a fingerprint area, the fingerprint will show up as a glow. Now this this might happen when just shining on the fingerprint location. It used to be you need a laser. Now LEDs are powerful enough. But anyway, when they're treated, not just when the fingerprints are just there, but when they're treated with these other methods, you shine a fluorescent light on them. Even though these methods, they only pick up a little, very faded one when you use the secondary light source. They'll fluoresce, and the fingerprint will become much more clear. There's something called DFO, and again, it's very sensitive to fingerprints, but you really can't see it unless you shine the special light on them. Then they'll fluoresce. Then you can identify the fingerprint. So you have to record the prints. So the first things you absolutely must do is photograph the print as it is. If it's on, let's say, a wall, then you can't remove the entire the suspected object. What you have to do is you can lift it by putting the powder on, or maybe other methods, and then putting tape on it, and then taking off the tape. The fingerprint is thereby removed, or is thereby recorded or saved on the cellophane tape. However, if it's possible, try to remove the part that the fingerprint is on. If it's a soda can, very good. If it's a whiskey bottle, take the entire bottle. If it's on a chair, if possible, take the chair for analysis, because that's always best. You get the original thing instead of something that was lifted, because when it gets lifted, maybe some things might not have been lifted well enough, or might have been changed a little bit by the way it was lifted, or might not have been lifted by an experienced person. So better to get the whole thing and to the lab if possible. What is certainly done is you get a digital image. You don't just keep the image as it is. You get a digital image. You get from a digital camera. This turns it into something that a computer can play with, and a computer can analyze. I mean, a piece of paper or a print on a piece of paper is just not able. The computer can't analyze it. But when it's a file, a digital picture, computers can play with it in all kinds of ways. They can enhance it. They can change the background and eliminate the background. They can clear up or eliminate little dust particles that might have gotten on it that might be a little confusing. There are other more complicated things that can be done. You can zoom in on it also and observe side by side. You can do a lot with computers. I'm sure you know that. You have experience with computers. There's something else that is called the FFT. It's a fast Fourier transform. This is a mathematical function actually that is used to change what they call frequencies into times, or times into frequencies. You want to transform it back, and this is very useful for anything that's periodic. So sometimes there's a periodic problem in the fingerprint. Let's say the fingerprint might have been found on some kind of a grating that has periodic ridges on its own. So you can actually identify what those periodic things are with a FFT and eliminate them. Another thing is one fingerprint found on top of another one. Fingerprints are also periodic.